This is the Raising Rebellion podcast, episode number 13.
Welcome to the Raising Rebellion Parenting Podcast, where we will explore how to help kids seek purpose and passion, challenge society's expectations, and avoid a standardized life. Now here's your host, Paul H.K.
Hello, Rebels. Thank you so much for being here today. I truly appreciate you. This episode is especially for the moms out there listening. Today, I chat with the Mojo Mama herself, Lori Joy. Lori is someone who helps moms turn their shit show into their mojo. That's her tagline. In this episode, Lori shares a story of how she was headed down a very traditional path in life, a career educator, but had a pivotal moment as a mom when one day she was taking a picture of her husband and her son, and she realized what was missing from that photo and why. That then led her down a path towards personal development and self-care. She felt so good a few years later that she then wanted to share all of the information that she learned with other moms to become the best people that they could be. Her theory is if she can help change some moms to take better care of themselves, she can in turn change children. And if she can help change children, we can then help change the world for the better. She's on a wonderful mission. Lots of energy in today's podcast. I think you're going to love her. So here's my interview with Lori. Okay, today we have joining us an entrepreneur, a coach, a speaker, a motivator, a visionary, a competitor, a goal crusher, and of course a mom. Lori Joy, the Mojo Mama. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Lori.
Paul Kim, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Very cool. It's my pleasure. All right, let's jump right in. Let's start at the very beginning, if we could. I'd like to start at the very beginning. Could you tell me a little about your childhood growing up, your journey through school, and your path, a little bit about your path of how you got to where you are today?
For sure. I am a very typical story of the education system. And so I, did my time in elementary and junior high and high school. And right out of high school, the option to do anything but go to post-secondary was never there. Education is a huge thing in my family. My mother had me when she was 17 and did not finish her education. And so to this very day, at the age of 44, I am still being pushed to get more education. So I have literally been in school my whole life. I went to university right out of high school, and right out of university, I went right to school, right to teaching. And I've been teaching I've taught everything from the junior high to the high school level. And about 8 years ago, I started doing some professor work at our local university here for our Faculty of Education. So I've been doing this teaching per se for more than 20 years. Mm-hmm. And when I tell my students I've been in school all my life, they just like look at me like I'm sick. What's wrong with you, woman? Right? And they can't wait to get out. And meanwhile, I'm immersed in it on a daily basis. So that's, so education has always been on the forefront. I have as many qualifications as one can get, master's and principal qualifications and all the qualifications you need to get to the top pay scale to be a teacher here in Canada. Mm-hmm. And and it wasn't until I want to say I'm a voracious learner, always trying to learn something new. And for a long time, Paul, my focus on my learning was all about my practice. And I always wanted to learn something new that I could bring to my students so that I could be a better teacher. And it wasn't until about 5 years ago that I went on a journey of a little bit more self-exploration where I was in a bit of a mama funk. And I started to do my education and my learning around personal development as opposed to professional. And this is where everything kind of took off. And this is what has led me to be an entrepreneur and coach moms to turn their shit show into their mojo. Sorry if you have to edit that out. And
it's totally fine.
And this is where, so I'm really doing my same skill set, but I'm living a more fulfilled and passionate day, and being able to, do things just like this, like talk on a podcast and enlighten other parents or about what to do with raising rebellion. So I love it.
Very cool. Now, where do you think it was the influence of your mom and her emphasis on education that kind of, sort of nudged you in that direction of, furthering your education, higher education, becoming a teacher? Do you think that was a subconscious influence or maybe a direct influence, you think?
It was a direct influence.
I see. I gotcha.
It was an absolute direct influence, but it was great because I was your typical high school child in the sense, the stereotypical maybe, where I did all my schoolwork, I participated in all sports, I was part of the drama club, I did plays, I was part of the graduation committee, I was immersed in everything, and there was never that idea of not going to post-secondary. It would never have happened.
Gotcha.
So with that push, went into, university, and then right at a university with a teacher's degree, well, what do you do? Well, you go to teach. And so it started with, supply teaching and then teaching in different places and having go to a remote city where I taught. It was like there was 1,000 people it's not a town, a city, it was a town. It was 1,000 people in the town, and there was 6 streets named first, second, third, fifth, fourth, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, sorry. And I started there, and it's always been about education. So it was like, well, you have your teachers, now you need to get your master's. Oh, right. Okay. Well, yeah, okay, I'll get my master's. Okay, now you have your master's. You have to get your principal's qualifications. Oh, okay. Well, okay, I'll do that. Sure, I could do that. And then now you have your principal. You might as well be a superintendent. I'm like, well, you have to be a principal to get the super. Like it's like my mom wouldn't be happy unless. Are you the director of education? Do you want it? You could do that job, don't you think? I was like, yeah, I probably could, but. Right. And then what happened? Really, to be honest with you, is that. As my life has gone on, I'm still using my teaching skills, but just in a different form to a different audience. So I still teach my moms. I still motivate my moms. Like if I can motivate a 16-year-old boy to like Shakespeare, I could tell you I can motivate a mother. And the thing is that it's just with life comes different experiences, different disappointments, politics of being in education. And what used to fill me up no longer does. And instead of being stuck in a job that we do for the security and the pension and the paycheck, I had to make a break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was it those very common things that a lot of us do have, like you said, right? It's a job and it's not very fulfilling, and it's all about the paycheck. Is that this sort of thing that you were just kind of getting fed up with as well, that led to your own self-development?
You know what happened, to be honest, and I really do see it as a blessing now. At the time I didn't, but I do believe truly things happen for a reason. Lord, love a duck. So anyway, because I had so many qualifications and I had done so many different jobs in my job, and I had so many different experiences, and I had, worked with the ministry and worked with the board, and then all of a sudden it came the time to step up and apply for the principal jobs or the department head jobs. And I was being told, in the conversations in offices, yeah, you're going to get this job. And then the interview comes and you're thinking, okay, this is great. I couldn't be more qualified. I think I'm actually very good at what I do. And so I sat there and didn't get the first job. And I was like, oh, okay, well, what the hell went wrong? What happened? And when I went in for, what happened? Like, what could I improve? What could I do? What did I mess up? What did I screw up here? Oh, nothing. I think you're going to be the next this, so-and-so. And you didn't get the department head job. You're going to be the next principal. Oh, okay. Okay, great. So principal, these things, these opportunities kept coming up and I kept getting passed over. And you can only get kicked so many times. And then you become a little bit, well, okay, clearly you don't want me in these positions. So that's a clear message and that's fine. I can take it. I'll be beat over the head a couple times and then finally it kicks in.
Right.
And at the time I was just like, what? And now I'm like, thank you. Thank you for not promoting me in these positions because there was a higher sense, there was a higher calling, there was something that I needed to do. And had I been roped into these promotions in this job, I probably would still be there and not doing what I'm doing. Yeah. And, you look at that now and you're like, thank you. I just want to go and give the people who didn't give me my job big old kiss on the lips and say, thank you.
Right.
You saved me, right? You saved me. So.
Oh, totally. Easy to look back too. When it's tough at the time, and then when you look back, I totally agree. Things don't happen for a reason.
Yeah.
When I was watching some of your videos as I was, prepping for our interview, there was another story that you had told in one of your videos about what also may have contributed to your starting to look for something deeper, something more fulfilling for yourself, right? Some personal type of things going on, not just on the professional side, but some other things that you may have been missing out on as a mom and as part of your family. Is that something you'd be okay with talking about as well?
I am an open book, Paul Kim. Okay. Let's go.
All right, cool. So you're right. So the story was about you were scrolling through some pictures.
Yes.
And that you weren't in, some of the pictures and something kind of clicked. Would you mind telling that story for the audience?
No problem. I'll try not to get verklempt when I tell it because I usually do.
Okay.
I had my son. My husband and I, we had our son, and you kind of as a mom, you get in this stage of life where I really do think I was in overwhelm. I had clearly never had a child before. The little bugger doesn't come with a manual, so you don't know what the hell you're doing. Yep. You're just trying your best. And you get to a point where I was in a funk and hadn't realized it. I was, had the opportunity to be off a whole year of work and be home with him. And it was just literally being home every day, entertaining my son. Mm-hmm. Had I known then how portable he was, we could have maybe gone out and traveled a little bit more. But anyway, but yeah, and it just happened to be where we had just come back from being out at my parents, and in Canada here we call them a camp, not a cabin. So we were there, and I just happened to be taking a picture of my son and my husband walking down the dirt road, and they were holding hands. And it was a gorgeous picture, and so Kodak moment of sorts. And so I began to scroll through my phone at the photos, and I quickly came to the realization that something was missing. And what was missing was me. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't in any of those photos. All of his first pet, his first time at camp, his first bath in the sink, his first time at the zoo were all chronicled with him and my husband. And the reason that I didn't participate in those pictures is because I was in a mom funk. Mm-hmm. And I started to cry at the moment where I thought, for the first 2 years of my son's life, there is no pictorial record of his mother. Mm-hmm. Because I was ashamed of my size. And it was just, he doesn't care what size I am. Right. As moms or as women, we have, this typical, oh, don't take my picture. My ass looks fat in these pants, or I don't have lip gloss on, or my hair is not done, or blah, blah, blah. Right. And it was a very it was a very telling moment for me. And that's where my journey began on self-care and that personal development. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, thank you so much for sharing that story, by the way. You know, the topics of body image and societal pressure and the stigmas and, you know, us having more self-compassion and being comfortable in our own skin. You know, those are some of the things that probably drive me the most crazy about society, is in that, you know, we are not allowed to just be. We have to fit into some sort of, you know, perceived expectation or notion of what we're supposed to look like or be like or act like. I mean, it's crazy, you know. You know, I was talking to a parent friend from school the other day, and she was telling me that her daughter, a 7th grader, was already making comments like her legs look fat in certain pants. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
I know.
You know? And I have a daughter, and it kills me that she is going to grow up thinking about these ridiculous types of things. And, you know, it's impossible to get rid of that out there in the world. But, you know, I just have no tolerance for it. It's crazy.
It is. And I know, and as an educator, I see that alarming trend every day, where they won't say or do something because of a reaction of somebody. They won't wear or be someone because of a reaction of somebody else. And my husband works at the university level, and we often talk about that transition from high school to university, and they're so young. They're 4 years out of grade 8.
Yeah.
Like, do you think about that?
Yeah.
And they're coming to university, and they're on their own, and it's overwhelm, and it's freedom overload.
Right.
But he says one of the nicest things about being at university is that kids can almost reinvent themselves. Where they couldn't be open and be who they are and wear what they want and truly be who they want to be because of the stigma and the you know, the nonsense that happens at the high school level. But he says you'll find a lot of students when they come to university, because they'll travel out of town, or there's more acceptance at the university level for diversity and differences. He said that it's really actually nice.
That's a great observation, I think, that he has. I mean, I talk a lot about college and higher education, and especially these days, whether it's worth it, you know, worth the price tag here in the United States. I mean, it's just astronomical, and it's going higher and higher and higher. So and in today's economy, right? Do kids really need to go to college these days in order to learn all the skills that they need to succeed in life? But, you know, to your husband's point, there are a lot of intangibles that you do get from college. Learning how to be independent, learning how to live on your own, learning how to think about and find yourself without your parents always telling you, you know, what you should be doing and what you need to be doing, right? So, you know,
which is an actual epidemic at this point, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
I'm seeing it at a high school level. My husband is I'm seeing it at the university level, where I'm a professor and I have parents phoning me, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?"
Right.
And so it's that whole, you're right. They need that detachment. They need that being on their own. They need to have those failures and those panics and those, I don't know what to do, without having mom or dad step in order to make them a little bit a better rounded person. It's okay if your kid fails.
Right.
It's okay.
Totally agree. Yeah.
I did a whole video on how not to raise, and I can't say the word on your podcast, I'm sure. But how not to raise what?
No, go ahead and say it. What is it?
How not to raise a douchebag. I did a whole thing on my top 10 reasons on how not to raise one, because I'm being surrounded by them on in the teaching realm on a daily basis. And you have to stop. You just, the whole, but that could be a whole another podcast.
It could. It really could. And it plays into, kind of what we were talking about before. It's, I was talking to one other dad on a different episode, and he had a thoughtful approach where he views it as kind of a 3 prong approach, the parent, the student, and that third element being society or teachers or mentors or what have you. Mm-hmm. And each one is so critical and dependent on one another. And a lot of times parents tend to lean too heavily on teachers. They just kind of drop kids off at school and assume that, okay, I'm good, I'm done, and I can go do whatever I need to go do now, and I don't need to do any more work because they're learning everything that they need to in school. That's what they're going to school for.
Right.
And no, that is not the case.
No, it is not the case.
It is
not the case. Yeah. You really, as a parent, need to be involved with your children's education. Your children's teacher really could be your best friend, not your best friend, but your best source of information, your best advocate. Mm-hmm. If you want to really know what your child is doing, ask their teacher.
Yeah.
You want to know who they're hanging out with?
Right.
Ask their teacher. You want to know if they're in with the right crowd or being heavily influenced or sitting by themselves at lunch in the hallways, which you would never know. Ask their teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's another episode. We could talk
that. I was just going to say that could be a whole other episode too.
An hour.
Let's pick them up, Paul. Lori Joel will be here every week on the Raising Rebellion. Talking about all topics. Okay.
You're the recurring guest. Okay. Well, let's talk about Mojo Mama. Tell me a little bit about that. I know you have a very no nonsense, no time to waste type of approach, and you're out there helping these moms, which I think is fantastic. Could you talk a little bit about what you do with your coaching and your teaching?
Well, what I do with moms is give them a wake-up call. Mm-hmm. And what I did, as aforementioned about, looking through the particular pictures and seeing that I wasn't in any of them, having my aha moment, my like, holy shit, I need to change something. I went through a 5-year period of reading and listening and doing and changing. And it was struggles. It was really trying to find what was going to help me as a mom get better at organizing my day, get out of overwhelm, get me on the calendar again, get me out of the house, and do it with all of, without having and being stricken with this mom guilt, which is such bullshit. Mm-hmm. So what I really do is at the end of all of this journey, and I'm still on my journey, I'm still moving and learning and getting better, but mm-hmm. People would say, Lori, what did you do? What are you doing? And I thought if I could just share this with one mom and get her to wake up and to realize that just because you're a mom doesn't mean that you never make time for yourself. You put everyone else first. This whole, I do everything for my kids is great, but get off the busy cross. I like to say it because we need the wood. Mm-hmm. Like we like to die on this martyr cross, like get off, we need the wood, right?
Right.
Stop wearing busy like it's a badge of honor. Let's just get over it and wake the hell up. I literally want to go up to moms and just shake them and say, what are you waiting for? Mm-hmm. What are you waiting for? And this whole education and all about kids really comes into the forefront when I do this. And I coach moms through a 6-week course, Paul, and I mastermind coach with women. And I have a free group where just on Facebook where they come in and I'm helping women turn their shit show into their mojo is really what we're doing. And with proven tactics, tips, and strategies that work. Because as a teacher, I am not about the theory. I am all about the implementation. And so I, went through an education system of nothing but theory. And now we need to be applicable. You need to learn something as a mom in 5 minutes or less that you can go and apply to your life and make it better. And that is what I do. I don't sit here and say, if you manifest things into your life, they will come. We do manifestation, but come on, really. You can manifest from your, what is it? It's Jen Cicero's How to Be a Badass book. We're reading that right now. And she says you can manifest and want things with a bong in your hand on your couch, but it doesn't mean you're going to get it, right? So really, and then what the whole premise is, and it took me a couple of months to really come up with this. It had always been there, but what I really concentrate on is I know that if I can change a mom, then I can change her children. And if we can change children, we can change the world. And it's not, I like when I say that, it seems astronomical. I'm not being facetious in my words. I'm not choosing my words slightly. We literally can change a mom, change a child, and change the world. So in that whole Stop Raising Douchebag series that I had, or that video that I had, it really comes into play with stop putting yourself last. Because what are you showing your children that they should do? Stop making excuses and talking about yourself in a negative manner out loud, like, oh, I'm so fat. Oh, I'm so this, I'm so that. Your children are listening. They are watching. They emulate what we do and what we say. And if you don't believe me, sit back and listen to watch your child interact with other people and see the phrases that you say and the things that you do in them. And so I really want moms to start to wake up and start to live their lives so that their children will do the same.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, do you think that it's moms? I mean, I'm assuming your audience is just made up of moms. You don't help women that aren't moms, right? Like your focus is
and a lot of the things that I do could definitely be, shared with other women. And I've spoken at entrepreneurial events, and I honor the moms, but then I also honor the women who don't have children, in the sense that, maybe they're, just for example, maybe they run a business, they're female entrepreneurs, and their business is their child. It keeps them up at night. It causes them stress.
Sure. Totally.
It costs them money.
Yeah.
All of these things that our children do to us. So we're all in the same boat. But I think what happens with moms, and how I can speak to them, is that I've been through that funk. All moms go through that. If everybody has a shit show to a varying degree. And if they tell you they don't, they're lying.
Yeah, right.
They're lying.
Right.
So what we do is I literally want to change the shape of our children. And I know I can do that through moms to start.
Yeah. That's, as an aside, you just reminded me of a post I saw the other day. It said something like, if we all loved our bodies as they were, imagine how many businesses and industries would cease to exist.
Yeah.
And that would be a good thing, It
would be.
I mean, tons just so prey upon, us being so insecure about different things, our bodies and appearance and all those different things. I mean, it's crazy. So do you feel like moms in general, somewhere along the line, they kind of lose their self-identity maybe cease to have a little bit of self-compassion for themselves? Does that sound right?
Oh, yes. One of the very first things, my course just started last week, and one of the very first things we do is we sit down and we take a look at our lives as a mom and as a woman. And we take responsibility for where we are in our lives. So you may not like it, but I'm telling you, by the decisions that you have made, you have put yourself there. And it's a little bit of tough love to get us started. And one of the things I ask them to do is to list 20 things they love about themselves. This is a struggle. And isn't that awful? Isn't that awful? Every night before we go to bed, and when I first taught my course, I was like, I was shocked. They were like, they have everything else done. Like, they have their homework to do. Yeah, I'm struggling to get those 20 things I love about myself. And I remember hearing that and watching these women struggle in my course with it. And I went to my son and I said, Caden, his name is Caden. I said, what do you love about yourself? Oh, Mom. And he's 6. And so he almost balked at it. And I thought, what is happening around me? Yeah. And so every night I will ask him, what are you grateful for when we're like reading our book and we're going to bed? What are you grateful for? I'll ask him, what did you learn that was new today? I try and ask him sometimes, what did he, without using the word fail, what did he try to do and didn't do well? Sarah Blakely, or is it Blakely? Or the woman who owns Spanx.
I think
she's
that
a
is right, Blakely.
Okay. Anyway, I remember seeing an interview with her, and she said every night at the dinner table, which we have gotten away from, which could be a whole other topic. Book me in. She said her father would ask her, "What did you fail at today?" Because it meant that you were trying something different and getting out of that comfort zone and pushing yourself to try something new, whether you did it or not. And then I ask my son, what do you love? What's one thing you like about yourself? And we will do that every night before we go to bed, because it is imperative. It is imperative that our children know that we love ourselves as a parent, that we speak about that out loud. We always say we love them, but what do you love about them? What are they good at? I have Post-it notes up in my son's bathroom that says, you are amazing. You will do wonderful things. You are loved. You are beautiful. And right so at his eye level, so when he's sitting there brushing his teeth, he can look at those. And it's just that positive messaging that I find I never had that as a kid. I don't have a problem as that. But I'm finding that as my years as an educator, I'm seeing that our kids have less and less self-confidence and less self-love. And, obviously I see that with my moms.
Yeah. Now, men have a lot of shit too, I'm just saying.
I know.
I'm just saying.
Daddy Mojo. Do you want me to Daddy Mojo? Start that twice your own.
Can you start that one, please? Because we're taught, right? As men, we're taught to suppress emotions, right? I mean, we're not allowed to feel, these types of emotions where we're looking at ourselves and looking inward, So I think that's a whole nother segment of your business that you can start. Okay. Now, when you do work with these moms, do they typically have a goal in mind when they come to you, or what happens if women don't know what they want to do, outside of being a mom?
That's a great question. It's a great question, because none of them do. None of them do. They come to me because they just crave change, and thank goodness these mothers have found our community and have come in and are being surrounded by other mothers who are struggling in the very same things. Like, I don't have enough time in my day. I find I'm losing my cool on my kids. I'm overwhelmed by all of the activities that my kids do. Well, who's the one who puts them in all the activities?
Yeah.
Like, let's take stock. Who signs them up from gymnastics and soccer and hockey and dance and all this other shit? They don't have to be doing 25 things.
Yeah.
It's okay to do one.
Right.
And then maybe you could have a night to yourself. It's okay. They don't. They just know that they need change.
Right.
And when we start to delve into what's working and what's not, there's a lot of aha moments. And then the course is it's 6 weeks, and it's really just an introduction to you to, here are the things you need to take stock of. Here are the things that you can immediately change. And they literally can go and change themselves after that 6 weeks. It's in my masterminds where I sit and I say, now you are here because you have learned these skill sets in the course. And now you really have stepped up and you say, I want to be more, do more. And they're like, but I don't know what it is. I'm like, well, let's find out. And we do that. And we go through that self-exploration and we look at, what did you do before? What did you like to do? What lights you up? What makes you sing? What makes you cry? What makes you feel those passions that maybe you haven't felt in so long, or maybe your passions have changed since having children, and our priorities often do. So why wouldn't our passions change as well? And then we go into that, the coaching, and we talk about, literally, if that is something you want to do, we are going to make it happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It's so fun.
Yeah. I mean, helping women and people start a new chapter in their lives and get out of the funk and live life. I mean, it's really great.
Yeah.
And I love how you know, not only taking all this that you learn and you're applying it to your parenting with your son, which I think is awesome. And, you know, basically you're just sharing all of the research that you've done, and you're applying and using, you know, all of your educator skills that you acquired, you know, through all that education, through all your time teaching, you know, kids and high school students and at the college level too, and just applying it in a different way. I think it's really great.
It's wonderful to use your skill sets that you have. Like if you talk about, right, that balance between your passions and your job.
Yeah.
You can still use and do your job,
Right.
just to a different audience, right? So
Yeah.
if I can very well and very easily take a big goal and chunk it down for a mom into sizable bite-sized things that she can, actionable steps that she can do on a daily or weekly basis. That's the process of my learning. That's that backward design. I will look to where I want my students to be at the end of the year, and then I will go backwards and teach them from that. And I'm not a typical teacher in the sense where I've never owned a binder. You know, teachers have this binder, it's a golden binder, right, where everything is, and you just simply flip the page. I work, excuse me, I work from my students' strengths and their interests and their hobbies and their likes and their dislikes. And I teach my whole curriculum around that. So there's a whole sense of engagement in that buy-in. And I do the same thing with my moms. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. You remind me of a friend of mine who took over his parents' clothing business, where his parents were making women's blouses, right, that they sold to department stores and, you know, big stores. And he was expected to take over that business, you know, as after he graduated college, like it was a given. And of course, it wasn't really lighting him up, right? Making women's blouses instead. Right. Yeah. So what he did was, after he learned that whole business, he decided to go start this uber premium, super cool denim brand for women, and is doing absolutely fantastic with it. And he loves it. And he's, you know, so same kind of thing. He applied what he learned and turned it into something that he does love to do using all those skills. So I think you're doing the same thing. It's pretty great. Yeah.
And when you're talking about women or my moms and, you know, I tell them we're not going to like quit our JOBs and, you know, go start burning our bras on the sidewalk. But what we're going to do is to start to make those very simple steps towards, like, I asked my moms, when's the last time you set a goal properly and then worked on a daily basis to get there? Yeah, a lot of them, well, I've tried, but I haven't gotten to this point. And so we have accountability and all that stuff. But, you know, I always say we're not going to go from the couch to running marathons. Yeah. That's where failure is. It's in the consistency of daily small actions that will get to where you need to be. So.
Right. Now, you have a few great quotes on your site. Yeah, me too, which is why I'm mentioning them. You have, don't live, I'm just going to read a few of them here. You don't live the same year 75 times and call it a life.
Yes.
Love that one. Do you want to be happy, or do you want to just be comfortable?
Yes.
Super fantastic. You are all called to be something bigger. You are called to be something better. Don't do this all by yourself. Don't be in the same place in your life at the same time next year. Yes. So great. Let me ask you, what do you love most about what you do?
Oh, my word.
Give me just a few. I'm sure you got tons, but give me just a few.
It's when a mom says thank you, that you've made a difference in my life, and that I know that in making a difference in her life, that her children's lives have been enhanced as well. As an educator, you will have students come back many years later and thank you for what you've done. And it's the best reward in the world. And that has happened to me a number of times in this same realm with women. And I see the changes that they're making in their diets, which means their children are eating better. They see them making changes in their their demeanor, which means their children are happier. It's quite amazing to experience.
Fantastic. Okay, I have one last question for you.
All right.
This is the question that I ask, the last question I ask of all my guests. The podcast is called Raising Rebellion, and it's where the rebellion is not throwing our kids through the system of school, job, career, but rather looking inward and helping them seek out meaningful things to them and to pursue those types of things in life, as opposed to just throwing them through school and then hoping for the best when they get out, on the other side. So what advice could you give to parents or kids who might be listening on how to become a successful rebel in life?
All right. I'm going to speak to the parents. And I want them to allow three things. I want them to allow their children to be true to who they are. I want them to just let their kids do what they want to do to some point. And I want them to screw what others think of them and their children in the process. So that whole be true to you, please let your child find their way. And although we do influence, and I know we put in our 2 cents, and I know we want what's best for our children, but if they do not have that self-exploration through the ups and the downs and the problems and the breakups and the failures, there will be no resiliency. And that is what I am seeing in an alarming trend of our children have no resilience. Or lack that resilience. So let them fail. Although it may be very difficult for you to sit by and watch, there is a lesson in it. When they graduate and they want to go and do something that lights them up, please, for the love of God, give them a year to do it. School will always be there. I have had many students come through my door and say, I want to do this after high school, but my parents won't let me. Come on, parents. Yep. They will get a good job. They will, everybody, you got to have something that you're going to get a good job with. Just let them find their way. The jobs that high school's not preparing them for the jobs that there are now. There will be jobs that exist right now, or will exist that your children will have, that where we have no way of preparing them for an education system. The education system is so behind the times. Yeah. It's not even funny. So just let them find their way. Would you rather have a child who has a good job, or would you rather have a child who's happy and well-adjusted and balanced and giving back to community? And maybe they can do this, the same thing. Maybe they can be both, by having that good job, as we, and put in parentheses, but just if they want to go, travel, good Lord, let them travel. They'll learn more traveling than they ever will sitting in a lecture theater at a post-secondary education. And then, there's that Saturday Night Live skit where he says, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me, right? Who gives a shit if people like what you do and what you say? I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. And, I won't parent my child like everybody else, and that's okay. And if people don't like the decisions that you're making, it's okay. It's your life at the end of it. It's your decisions. You really can't let what other people think influence you. And this is something to teach our children. If we tread on eggshells and we walk, very lightly because we're afraid of what other people think, oh my word. So, let your children be true to who they are, and let them do what it is that lights them up, and what their strengths, let them pull from their strengths. If they're great at, here's an example. In my high school that I have here, every student makes the grade 9 sports teams. Nobody is cut. Mm-hmm. Now, what the hell? I'm sorry. You may not be good at basketball. Your strengths may be at chess, or maybe you're the science guy, or maybe you're the drama kid, or maybe you're, you shouldn't be there. If you're not good, cut them and let them have that moment of disappointment. They won't die. And then let them go and find something that they are good at. This drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Let's give an award for everything. Good grief. Anyway, no wonder we're raising douchebags. Anyway, and then just let them do what they want without anybody caring. Be rebellious, live your life, do what you want. Time is short, and everything at the end of it will be okay. Really.
So powerful, so true, so on the point, so without any fluff, just direct and to the point. I love it. Absolutely love it.
No fluff. Hashtag no fluff.
Fantastic. No fluff. Okay. If people want to find out more info about you, where can people go online, and how can people contact you?
You can find me at my website. It's www.themojomama.com. You can find me at that same handle, either on Instagram or Facebook. And reach out. Let's have a conversation. Want me to help you with your whatever, your shit show to Mojo Mamas? I can do that. I also, we were talking about moms and not having the time and, not having themselves on their calendar. At my website, moms can go and download a free, my top tips to get organized in 10 minutes or less. And you literally will save yourself from another day of overwhelm in your motherhood. So they can do that. And I would love to help them through that.
I love it. I will link to all of those things in the show notes so people can find that as well. Lori is an entrepreneur, a coach, a speaker, and of course, a fantastic mom. She is Lori Joy, aka the Mojo Mama. Lori, it has been an absolute pleasure to help you spread the word about what you do. Thank you so much for being on the show today and for sharing your story with our audience. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. Thank you.
Go to raisingrebellion.com, sign up for our newsletter, listen to all of the past episodes, check out the show notes if you missed any of the information in today's episode. If you're finding the podcast helpful, I truly appreciate you telling other Rebel parents about it. But most of all, I'm very grateful for you listening and for being here. So until next time, go Rebs.